Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Super Sourcecast. This is your host, PushDustIn, and joining me today is M.
Hello.
And the MangoViking.
Hello.
So, as always with our Super Sourcecast, we always start off with a catching up period. So, M, what's been going on with you lately?
It's been a bit of a mess. I haven't played a whole lot of games, regrettably. I keep collecting them, but yeah. It's been interesting. Christmas happened. Got a lot of games. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have a good New Year?
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, what'd you do?
Small family stuff. It's pretty low key. I like when it's quiet.
Yeah, I have the same problem of just collecting games recently, and just like I have a whole wall. Look at all these fantastic games I own that I haven't played yet.
The problem of having no time on your hands.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Mango, how about you? How was your New Year, winter holiday, and what have you been up to lately?
It was good. I've mostly been playing ukulele, which is interesting because in the Discord chats, Nintendex and Wolfman are kind of going at it a bit, which is funny to read. But I'd say it's an okay game. It kind of does what you expect it to, but it's still like missing something.
It seemed real rushed.
Yeah, I heard that there was a lot of people that really like it and a lot of people that were just pretty like about it.
Yeah, it was I was thinking about it for a couple of days, like what I thought was missing, because it has like all the makeup of what would make like a banjo game. And I basically came down to the story kind of aspect, like why you collect pages isn't really interesting in and of itself. It's just kind of like, hey, here's my challenge, go do it. Whereas banjo is more like, here's this weird scenario, and then you just so happen to get like a jiggy with it. And like there's some that are just like, here's a challenge as well. But I was talking to one of my friends because he's a really big Rare fan and he runs his own site and blah blah blah. And basically what he told me was, I think it's Steve Mails isn't on. It's either Steve or Greg, I forget now, but one of them isn't on the team, and it was like he was the writer and basically like the main guy behind the series. So I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah, so it has like all the makings of a Rare game, but it doesn't have the story of one.
Yeah.
Okay. For myself, I went to the Philippines for 2 weeks. I was staying with my girlfriend's family, and it was pretty wild to go around the Philippines for that long of a time because I've been in Japan for about 5 years, like straight. And the last time I visited the States was about 3 years ago, actually. So I've just been in Japan for 3 years straight, and it was kind of refreshing to visit a country that's just the opposite of Japan. Like, Japan is very organized and very clean and very safe, whereas the Philippines is wild. So that was quite fun. And then recently for video games, I've been playing Nucleon, which I just reviewed for Source Gaming, and pretty soon I will be reviewing Brawl for the Nintendo Switch, which is another game that kind of surprised me.
Well, that'll be interesting to hear.
Yeah, Brawl's an interesting game because it's like a horror Bomberman game. So I've been playing those two games lately. I want to play more of Breath of the Wild because I still haven't played the DLC, but I just don't know if I have time.
I haven't even bought it yet.
Yeah, it's pretty lengthy.
Yeah, I heard it takes about 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah, the story stuff. Because there's a lot of shrines they give you.
Yeah. Actually, I still haven't finished the first DLC for Breath of the Wild, so I'm really, really behind.
I kind of think that's the better of the two packs, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on the second pack then?
I guess not to spoil it, but like by this point in the time, I don't care too much for doing more shrines because there's so many in the game, and if I really wanted to, I would like go back to them. There's still some good ones in here though, but I don't think so. I expected this to be kind of like a story focused DLC, and there's not really a lot of story. It gives you like some basic character backgrounds, but that's about it. And it kind of feels like it should have been in the main game just because of like how little you really get to know the champions in the game. It's like, oh well, this would have made me care a bit more. But
yeah, I mean, recently we did the Breath of the Wild developer translation, and I have Masterworks, so I know exactly what's going to happen in the DLC. But you don't have to worry about everything. Yeah, I've read basically the whole thing, and I think that's a fairly good point that it kind of feels like it should have been in the base game because of just how little you know about these characters. Like, one thing that the developers really wanted to do was illustrate the passage of time. Like, that's why there's 100 years ago, Link wakes up again and the world is devastated by Calamity Ganon, and but they didn't really fill in that blank. Like, they have it for Link and Zelda, but not really for the champions, like you mentioned.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to connect the two, really, until you get some of the background there.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and talk about recent gaming news. So probably the biggest gaming news is that the Nintendo Direct Mini was announced, released, and it's all here. So I did a short discussion with Nerbion already, but I haven't heard your thoughts on the Direct Mini. So, what did you think?
That's a whole lot of ports. Yeah. But I'm really happy about it.
So, do you think it's a good direction for the Switch to have all those ports?
It's not like they're not releasing new stuff alongside it. It could seem overwhelming. But at the same time, it's not like everybody's got to pick up every port. It's like it gives options, right? It's not like there's a loss to having Donkey Kong on Switch. Like that's a new audience that it can hit. Whereas like people who would want to play the game but wouldn't want to buy a Wii U can play it now.
Yeah, or people who just missed it because they forgot that Donkey Kong was released.
Yeah, it's a really good game.
Yeah. How about you, Mango? What do you think about the number of ports on the Switch and with the Direct Mini?
So I was kind of annoyed to see more ports, or Wii U ports specifically, but at this point it honestly doesn't. I guess how you think of the Direct depends on your perspective. Well, I mean, I guess that makes sense for anything, but in terms of if you already owned a Wii U, it's not going to really look appealing to you because, you know, you've probably played most of these games, so it'll feel like, okay, well, how long am I going to wait until the new stuff comes out? Because obviously that's why you bought a new console. But I think the majority of the Switch audience aren't Wii U owners, which is to no surprise. So it doesn't really matter that Nintendo's releasing all these ports because it's still new to all those people and it will probably sell as much or better than the Wii U anyway. So I think in the long run, like, it'll definitely be beneficial to them. And I mean, some people are going to double dip, or I think you said you missed Donkey Kong on the Wii U, so like you might pick it up now. So like even other Nintendo fans will still buy into it. So for the most part, I think like it's not really going to bug anyone. It'll actually be a benefit. So they're in like a golden position where like they can't do anything wrong.
Yeah, I think the Switch has already outsold the Wii U in Japan.
Lifetime
something
sales.
Like that. Yeah,
which is
something
nuts.
ridiculous. But one thing I would like to say is that like for myself, for the games that I own, for most of them, I'm kind of unwilling to double dip if it's full price. Like I really want Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch, but I bought it on the Wii U with all the DLC. So like,
yeah,
it's like I can't really justify paying full price for that game.
I see where you're coming from.
battle mode.
But I've traded in a lot of Wii U stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not super into trading in stuff, but it's a scenario that suits it well for me. I'm looking to get rid of the Wii U because I only really like to have one unit hooked up at a time. Really.
Okay.
So the Wii U's sitting in storage doing nothing, and the games are sitting there doing nothing. And I'm not going to hook it up. So if I can trade it in, it'll cost less to get the games that are being ported over.
Mm-hmm. So, with the direct announcement, with the direct mini, there was the only new original game was Mario Tennis Aces, actually.
Yeah, that looked pretty good.
So, yeah, I thought it definitely looked like a step up from, was it Super Smash?
Ultra Smash.
Ultra Smash. Yeah.
Ultra Smash, for the Wii U.
Yeah, no, I can't wait for it. It looks awesome.
And by the time this article will come out, the Anvil will have a roster, a dream roster, what he imagines the roster will look like for Mario Tennis Aces on Source Gaming. So please go ahead and check that out. Well, the next big announcement that kind of just came out of nowhere was Detective Pikachu. It's finally coming out to the West.
That's right.
And the second episode is coming out in Japan pretty soon with Amiibo.
A massive Amiibo.
Yeah, that's the weird
massive
thing. It's not just an Amiibo. It's like one that's 2 or 3 times size of like the actual.
We have a surplus of plastic.
For no reason. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So, first off, what do you think of Detective Pikachu finally being announced for the West?
That took too long.
Yeah.
That took way too long.
That's kind of crazy.
I think it's just because probably they had to re-record, and then I don't know if they reanimated some of the people talking, because I think they were using new mouth technology, like to sync the audio and the...
Oh, so it wouldn't have looked like as convincing as if you were to like dub anime, and it just doesn't really matter.
Yeah. So I think that's why it took so long for an English release, but I'm not sure.
That makes sense. There is still no reason for them to have waited so long on Brain Age for Europe. That took like 3 years.
Wasn't that like 3 years?
Yeah.
It's just English.
It was already done. I had found in the North American version they had language files for like German, Italian, like all the Europe stuff was already done. And they were just sitting on it for years.
And we thought it was bad when Yoshi came like a couple of months.
I think the last quote I remember hearing was like, Reggie was like, "Oh, we're waiting for a good time." And then it just came out of nowhere.
I think what happened was that the piece of paper that Nintendo needed, they just couldn't find it. So they were just like scrambling. Look, they had like an office cleaning day the week before they announced it, and they're like, "Oh, here's the paper."
Nice.
It was behind the intern's desk.
They don't work here anymore.
Yeah, they don't work in here anymore. That's why we couldn't find it. Mango, did you want to elaborate on Detective Pikachu a little bit more?
Oh, sure, yeah. I was going to say in a weird way, I'm surprised it's not delayed like longer, because I figured, okay, it's been this amount of time. They're probably just going to wait till like the movie is kind of out and then do it then. Yeah. But now I really don't know what to think, because it's like, it seems like it was quite a long time to, localize and do all that. But then it's also not long enough to like be relevant to the movie's launch, which I don't even remember when that's supposed to come out. Like probably 2019 at earliest, but
maybe they're hoping to have the second episode ready for the movie.
Maybe. It's so weird how this is episodic. It's like you released one episode. How many years until just one more?
Have they talked about
I'm expecting it
plans?
to do like a Sonic 4, where it's like, here, we only have 2, and then never finishes.
Yeah, it could be like Half-Life.
Yeah.
I don't know if they talked about the future plans for Detective Pikachu. I'm not sure what their long-term goals with that series is.
I read in the press release that like it's episode 1, and then they added a bit of content to like wrap up that part of the story or something. So yeah, maybe it can be standalone. Like maybe they're just setting it up like, oh well, who knows if we'll make more, but let's finish this off, I guess.
Did they only just announce that it's episodic, or was that like from the start they had said that?
That was from the start, I believe.
Okay, I had no idea until now.
Because I know that people were waiting for episode 2 in Japan. Well, speaking of... Actually, no, that's not really a good transition, but whatever. We have Bayonetta 1 and 2. They're able to be preloaded on the Switch, I think, in Europe. So, those files were updated, so now it's 8.5 gigabytes instead of 16 gigabytes for Bayonetta 1.
2, I think, is like 10 gigabytes?
Yeah. I was reading a Reddit thread and people were complaining about why they just didn't dish out the money for a 32 gigabyte cart.
There's, the price jumps up pretty big between 16 and 32. Like, I think it would be cheaper for them to just do two 16 gigs. 2 is 12.4 gigs. But if you're going cartridge, that doesn't matter. It's really good to hear that the first game is like almost half the size, because that's only getting a physical release in Japan.
Mm-hmm. Are you planning on picking up Bayonetta 1, 2, and 3?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm all in on that series.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Mango?
I played 1 and 2 on the Wii U, but it's great. I'm definitely going to get the third one when that comes out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've played through most of 1, but I haven't finished it, and then I haven't even touched 2 yet.
Yeah, I would suggest not touching 2 until you do 1, just because I think I did it backwards, because I wasn't sure if I was going to play 1, and I didn't want to play 1 and be like, well, I got my fill, and then like never return to it. So I played 2 first, and then I went back to 1, and I'm like, man, this game is not as good as the second one. I did this wrong. So I think you did it right, because like the combos and the different weapons and just some of the climaxes and stuff you can do just like make it a lot more interesting in 2.
Yeah. I really enjoyed just the overall story of Bayonetta. Like, I was really into that when I was playing through 1.
Yeah. The music's pretty good too.
Yeah, the music is fantastic. I love the Take Me to the Moon remix. Yeah. I blasted at work.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, besides these pieces of gaming news, we have a couple of other things. The online service will be coming out in 2018. It was just announced. There was a typo for a little bit where Nintendo said it was coming out in 2019, but it seems like that fatal error was corrected, and that intern was fired. So, what do you guys think about the online service? Do you think that we will see it sooner or later in 2018?
It all depends on how they, I don't know. They talked about it that one time, and then that's been it. Like, I still, we need more details on it. They haven't talked about the retro game stuff and how that's going to work, or how often they're going to put stuff out, or they like name dropped a couple games, and then it was like, that's it. But
yeah, I really like how Reiji was like we'll talk about Virtual Console when the system releases. And then, like, just nothing. Just nothing. Mango, what do you think?
I would hope we would hear about it this year, because if we went, like, 2 years without knowing how online works, it's not going to look very good. I'm sure we'll see it this year, either in a direct before E3 or at E3, one or the other. They may just, like, give some details before, and then at E3 be like, this is how it works, like with bonuses and all this kind of stuff. Depends on what they're doing with this.
And they still haven't released Switch rewards for the My Nintendo.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
Just some wallpapers or something.
Yeah. My concern is that they don't have a quarter release yet for the online. It just says 2018. So I'm afraid that's going to be later than sooner.
That's a Project Giant Robot problem right there.
Yeah. Wasn't that supposed to be released a couple months?
Yeah. That was another fired intern.
Wasn't
Yeah.
Wasn't that like 1v1 giant robot? Didn't that just turn into arms basically?
I don't think so. I don't know if the tech was transferred to arms or not, but it sounded like very different than arms.
Arms is a very clean game. I was not able to find much.
Yeah.
I think there were two different development sections too. Like it was Miyamoto and I don't know, maybe some other people with giant robot, and then
all I know about that is that the arms team also did Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, some people. There were the unused characters, which eventually became the DLC characters, but not all of them were used.
Which characters?
There were some of the missing ones.
I think there's like something plant based, but I don't know if that just became I forgot his name, the tribal guy with the.
Oh, you're talking arms. I thought you meant I was thinking Mario Kart. I'm like, wait, what?
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. There's like a huge character like that they were given their code names.
Yeah, I remember.
Like there's like Coil and Robot and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, like a lot of them were able to be matched up, and then after the DLC was finished, they were able to match up most of them. But I think there were some unused ones.
Yeah, there's at least like 3 or 4 from what I remember looking at.
So I wonder if ARMS just if they decide not to continue the support for it because of the sales being lower than they expected.
Could be.
Because I don't think the ARMS sold as well as Nintendo wanted it to be. Like, I think it was successful, but not as successful.
It's not a Splatoon.
Yeah, with the manga being released in Japan, and there's some ARMS merchandise. Maybe we'll see a sequel regardless.
Yeah. The lore had me interested, but it's not something that I'd want to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was really interested in the lore because basically they just explained it as people just wake up with long arms. It's no big deal. They fight with them too.
And sometimes they take them off to be like regular people or something like that. Gets very weird.
Yeah, they just wake up like, oh yeah, I have long arms today. I guess I'll join the battle. Well, let's go ahead and start talking about Source Gaming articles. So the first article that we're going to talk about is one that was written by me. And that is what Nintendo did right with its Direct Mini. Basically, in this article, I talk about how Nintendo nailed the marketing for the Direct Mini. Like, they built up the hype, but then they kind of took the wind out of themselves so people wouldn't be disappointed. I thought it was a very good balance. So, Em, what do you think? Do you agree with my opinion?
Yeah, it was interesting to see how they reacted to fans' reactions through social media, and how they were able to leverage it in such a great way. Yeah,
I think some of the essential things was that they just kind of released the Direct. Like if they announced the time,
right? Yeah,
and had it live streamed, then people would have been severely disappointed.
Yeah.
Because personally, like, I'm pretty meh about the Direct because it's all ports, except for Mario Aces, or remasters in one way or the other. But I realized that Nintendo kind of hit the nail on the head by just kind of releasing it and also calling it a Direct Mini. So, Mango, what do you think of my lovely article? Do you agree? Yeah, I'm sure you agree with it.
You're absolutely wrong. I can't believe I'm talking. No.
Oh my god.
I think you got it right. Especially, yeah, I don't think you can live stream a mini Direct because then that just sends out like the weirdest signals. It's like, it's a mini, so I shouldn't expect much, but you're live streaming it, so you want like everyone to talk about it at the same time and get excited. So I think it was like the right idea to just release it as is.
Yeah, I was so confused when I found out that Nintendo had just released it because I had friends over and like they left, and then like I was getting ready to do Source Gaming work, and Tris like is like pinging me like, can I talk about Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition? And I'm like, what? So that's how I found out.
It was pretty much the same with me. I saw like the Discord notifications, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess I better go to Twitter and check that out before I like see everything spoiled.
Yeah. Well, the next thing is the new information from Breath of the Wild from Masterworks. This was translated by Matt Walker. It was our first guest translation that we've done, and basically we summarize the developer interviews from Masterworks. Masterworks, of course, is the latest Zelda 30th. It's supposed to be 30th, but now it's 31st year. 30th anniversary celebrating Zelda. They released 3 books: the Hyrographics, Hyro Encyclopedia, and Masterworks. And Masterworks just focuses on Breath of the Wild and shows lots of interesting and great concept art. So we've translated the developer interviews, and there's quite a bit of interesting tidbits, like how they're trying to capture the smell within Breath of the Wild, and also the direction that they had with the art. So, is there any key points that you thought were interesting?
I couldn't say. It's always really good when they talk about this kind of stuff in detail, and I was worried that they would sort of lip at end when they stop doing Iwata Asks, but clearly they're going to continue that sort of stuff in different ways.
I mean, one thing I was really surprised was that they did the GDC talk about Breath of the Wild.
They showed off some really cool stuff at that talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, the prototype.
Yeah, and they showed off more stuff in the Masterworks.
Are there any, do they show any more of the tech side of things? Like their engine and stuff?
Their, the stuff that they used during development?
Yeah.
I know they mentioned that the Hero's Path was a development tool originally.
Interesting. Yeah, because they at that talk they had discussed how basically their editing tools were like you would be in the game, and you had like a little message pop up pointing at something like this needs to be fixed. Which is wild.
Yeah. I like it. They built a whole new system just for the game because it's an open world game.
Yeah, it's unlike anything they've ever done.
Yeah. One thing that I forgot to mention is in these interviews, Aonuma talked about how they're already working on the next Zelda, which isn't surprising because they started Breath of the Wild right after Skyward Sword was released, and that there's no timeline placement for Breath of the Wild.
Didn't they put it off to the side or something weird?
They said that it's up to fan interpretation, that they won't be releasing the official one because they like to see people speculate.
Fantastic.
So the answer is whatever you think it is.
Speaking of speculation, what do you think of the Link's Awakening rumors?
I don't know, because like the rumors that they're being reworked so they're more open-ended, I think that's a little bullshit. I don't know how you can make... I mean, well, there are ways that you can make Link's Awakening more open-ended, but I don't know if they would be going that far with the game and not call it a sequel.
Sure.
Because, like, if you look at, like, A Link Between Worlds, like, that's basically a Link to the Past
open world
sequel.
Yeah.
But with open worlds, and that's a full sequel. They didn't call it, they didn't say, like, oh, this is A Link to the Past.
Originally, they had tried to do just A Link to the Past 3D.
Yeah. But, in Japan, it is A Link to the Past 2.
That's right, yeah. It is.
Yeah. But, so if the rumors are true that they're, like, really updating it and making it, like, if they're changing the core gameplay, I think that it won't be a remaster. I think it will just be a sequel. Maybe it started off as a remaster, but I don't think it'll end up one. If the rumors are true.
Right.
But the guy who posted these, I think his name is Marcus. Is that correct? He has like a Falco avatar on Twitter.
Okay, I'm not sure about that. I just know that there's been word flying around.
Yeah, if it originated from him, like, he doesn't have the best track record with rumors.
Okay.
Like, a lot of the stuff that he was saying about the upcoming Nintendo Direct turned out to be false. He did post that the Dark Souls would be remastered, but then he withdrew that comment and said that, I don't think it's going to happen. So I don't know. I wouldn't put too much faith in what he's saying. Like, I would put more faith in what Laura Kate Dale or Emily Rogers or Liam Robertson are saying over him.
Yeah, definitely.
And I saw one of the reset era mods saying that he's just taking other people's rumors.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
So again, I wouldn't put too much faith in his rumors, but if other people are saying it, then yeah, let's talk about them.
Definitely.
Anyway, let's get back to Masterworks. So, or the translation. Mango, what did you think about these translations?
Just a couple of days ago, I read it because I thought we were going to record another day, so I don't remember everything. But I remember one of the things being like, I think they have more backstory or something in the book, and they're like, I think this is pretty cool because you'll read up on whatever the places in Akala, and then you can go in the game and look at it yourself and get more context out of it. So like revisit the game and apply that. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I really want to go through and really read through the book. I haven't had the chance. I've just been basically looking at the pictures and looking at what things are unused, because that's what I'm very interested in, and trying to document all that. But yeah, it would be very interesting to go through and play Breath of the Wild with that new knowledge. Speaking of that, my girlfriend just started playing Breath of the Wild. She's still on the Great Plateau, but she enjoys it a lot so far.
Are you getting antsy, like trying to be like, I want to tell her how to do this, but I can't. I have to let her discover it, sort of.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I'm trying to not be like a backseat gamer.
Yeah.
And just be like, oh no, if you do this, then. But she had a hard time finding a weapon, so I got one for her. And she gets a little nervous with the combat. But yeah. Well, the next article is the case for the Doom Marine, which was written by the wonderful Wolfman. And this was released, I think, in the early days of January. And in this article, Wolfman talks about how the Doom Marine could work for Smash, what his chances for and against joining the roster. So, Em, what do you think about this article?
I thought it was a good look, especially since Nintendo's got an interesting history with the Doom franchise. It doesn't seem like something that's out of the question, so definitely give this a read.
Yeah, and especially with Doom released on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo really improving their relationship with Bethesda. But as far as Bethesda reps go, I don't know if the Doom Marine would be the most obvious one. I wonder if the one guy from Skyrim, the Dragonborn, if he would be the more obvious choice, or a Fallout character.
Yeah, I think Dovahkiin would probably be the most likely. Like, even if he has less historical significance to Doom Guy, like if you want to look at it like from Sakurai's perspective, I guess, but it's also the one with like the least amount of problems to translate. Like, I don't know, it's very weird because on one hand you do have Snake, which like snaps people's necks as a grab move, but then Doom Marine like curb stomps people's faces, so it's like, is that fine? Is it not fine? I don't know. But then it's like, well, Snake, he's also like from a Japanese studio, and Doom is from like a Western one, so it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Two very different scenarios.
We've seen Sakurai kind of hesitant to represent Western IPs, Western studios. Like Diddy Kong is the only non-Japanese character in the roster, and it's just like he's talked about how Smash is a great game for advertising Japanese games, with Fire Emblem and Xenoblade
and more
their
Fire
third
Emblem.
party, third party representation. So I worry about the chances of a Western character making it in. Plus, there's that communication issue, as Sakurai doesn't really speak English, and he wants full creative control over the character.
Don't they have like communications people yet?
Oh, I'm sure they do, but I'm just saying, like, I think it's Sakurai builds a relationship with the developer.
Oh, true.
When working on that character.
That's fair.
Like, he basically asks if he can take over that character for Smash. Like, the original creator has authority to give thumbs up, thumbs down, but they can't be like, oh, change this. They can't get into the nitty-gritty details.
Right, okay.
It might just be like there might be one instance at some point where the perfect character aligns up with Sakurai or something. Because it is still weird that you have Western games appear as trophies, like Mr. Commander, or I forget his actual name, but a couple
Commander
of them in
Video.
there. Yeah, Commander Video. So it's like I don't even know why they're in there. Did the Nintendo of America just be like, hey, we think this would be cool, and then why would he comply?
The story behind Commander Video is that basically the developers behind them, they just like kept emailing Nintendo and was just like, put him in a trophy, and then never heard it back. But then they found out that he was at least added as a trophy.
That's so weird.
Yeah. And he had I think Commander Video was published by Nintendo in Japan for the DS or the 3DS. I'm forgetting.
3DS or Wii U. It was on both.
Yeah. Okay, so I think there was a physical release in Japan.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because that's what happened with Rayman. He was published in Japan by Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's like some
mm-hmm.
link.
So let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about that. Because I'm not 100% sure. And the next article that we're going to be talking about is Buried Bites, WarioWare Smooth Moves. This was written by M, just published as of recording. And so it's hot off the press. So M, why don't you introduce us to your fantastic article?
Yeah, so I found a really cool thing in a game, and I wanted to do a post-mortem on it, on the process. Mm-hmm. And so I figured I'd sort of write it from the perspective of, like, me and the readers are going through this game together. It works for the most part. I'd like to use that format going forward.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't get, like, too technical. I don't want to, like, push people away from reading the whole thing, but...
See, I really liked it because it was kind of like a tutorial.
Yeah, I tried to make things, like, sound and look as simple as possible.
But at the same time, like, it was not so complicated. Like, it wasn't like, you didn't, like, lose me. I was like, oh, if I was able, if I want to replicate this, I probably could.
Yeah. Like, all you really need is, like, a hex editor and, like, download a couple programs.
And you give them out in the article.
Yeah, I'd link to a bunch of them. Yeah, it's all set up because, like I said in the article, like there's a pretty common compression that is used in like a lot of Nintendo stuff. So it's something that you can learn here and go and look in other games and like find stuff on your own.
Yeah, and it's also the best WarioWare game.
It's pretty good.
Mango, have you had a chance to read M's article?
No, I didn't know it existed until you brought it up.
So, anyway, I think that's about it for our Source Gaming section. Is there any other articles or discussions that you guys like to touch upon?
Nah.
No, I think you got to get it.
just one more article that I want to highlight is the Anvil. He wrote the history and perspective of the Simpsons games. It's a 2-part article, and it's if you want to learn more about the Simpsons games, it's a great piece, great collection of information about those games.
I'm definitely interested in that. I'm gonna read it for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think that basically wraps up this episode of Super Source Cast. So, what are you guys working on right now, M?
I will be working on another Buried Bytes article for an unannounced game. The game, the game is out. Mm-hmm. It's just unannounced here.
Okay.
Okay.
Breaking open a game that isn't even out. Like, man, this is some exclusive stuff.
Getting real good at this stuff. No, yeah, I wanna keep doing more of those things and sort of broaden that perspective and keep it going.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Mango, how about you? What are you working on?
So if it's not obvious to some people, I'm still new here, so I'm kind of feeling my way around. I did write a little blurb on a roundtable that I think is going out this week.
It's a backup article, so maybe.
Well, at some point, maybe you'll read a couple of paragraphs I wrote. But if not, right now I'm just waiting for a code for a review. So we'll see when that comes out. I can't say anything about that either.
Awesome. And I'm also working on a review, which I already said was Brawl. And I also have a lot of translations to check. Brando, like over Christmas vacation, translated it's like 30 pages of this interview. And so I have to go through and check it.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's not actually... It's like 54 pages on the doc, but I think because of the formatting, it got spread out and there's pictures and stuff like that. But basically, I'm like only 15 pages in of the checking. And also, we finally finished the Pygmy Studios interview, which took a lot longer than I wanted it to. But that will be coming out this week, definitely. So check that out if you want to learn about Luna XXX. That's an exclusive interview that we did in Japanese from the Tokyo Game Show. And so that'll be amazing to come out. And besides that, I'm just working on a couple of other site things that hopefully will come to fruition soon. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and plug our social media. So you can go ahead and follow Source Gaming by going to @AllSourceGaming on Twitter. We also have a Twitch and Discord, which you can find in our pinned tweet on Twitter or in the description below. And of course, I'm PushDustIn. You can follow me by searching PushDustIn on Google. M, where can people find you?
On Twitter @OtherM. M is spelled EHM.
Okay, and Mango?
You can find me @the MangoViking on Twitter.
Also, a special thanks to AThunderousCat for helping out with the audio for this podcast. You can go ahead and follow him on Twitter. And again, all those links will be in the description below. So thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. Please let us know what you think in the comments below. As always, the next episode will be coming out in about 2 weeks, so stay tuned for that. If you have any particular questions that you'd like us to answer, also, please go ahead and send that our way. Thank you guys again for listening, and this is all of us signing out. Bye.